MMA Roadshow, episode number 469. Giggity. My name is John Morgan. Cold Coffee is with me on this gorgeous, I'm just going to say it, absolutely beautiful Wednesday afternoon in Las Vegas. Yes, I thought you were going to be the one that threw in the goofy.
I feel like I don't know how I missed that. I was literally in my head. I was more thinking like, or episode year 9 plus blah blah blah. And so my head was going that way, and I didn't even catch the 69 part.
What's funny is I was actually starting to talk about it. See, 469 is actually the area code in Dallas, or one of the area codes in Dallas. In fact, you probably don't know because you don't even remember the last time you actually dialed my phone number. But my phone number.
If I had to try to remember, put your number, I would literally struggle, and I don't think I could.
You would probably start with 702. I've had the same number in Dallas since I was like 22 years old.
I won't ask you to say what your first, but yeah, I'm
What's that?
I'm
What's
blanking.
That one? It's 469. That's my area code. Is 469.
I thought it was 419 or something. So
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my area code. I've had the same. But
now, folks,
so that's
all you hackers out there, just figure out
all
the
rest
seven.
of the number. Just dial all
just figure out the
numbers.
last 7 of them.
Yes,
Good luck.
I still have a Dallas area code. Yeah, but it's funny. That's what was actually going through my head. And then for whatever reason, when I said it out loud, the immature 12-year-old in me just popped out, and I had to throw in a giggity.
I know I've said it before. My OSU email when I went there was Hathaway.69. And they're like, you could keep this forever. I was like, yes, I will.
Yes, I can.
Yes, I will. You're never getting this one back. I was like, there'll never be another Hathaway.69. It's mine. So, yeah, I signed up to keep it for life because at one point when you're graduating, like, check this box and you can keep it forever. I was
so you still have it forever?
Oh, yeah.
You use that one on all your LinkedIn profiles and all your professional. Like,
I
bro,
don't even forget where I get it.
Hit me up at Hathaway 69.
Every once in a while, I'll log into it and I'll see, like, I've received, like, the theater department's, like, newsletter or something along those lines. I'm like,
I'm really serious about this job application. I believe I would be a valuable asset to your company. You can reach me at Hathaway69 at deesnuts.com.
I got one better than that. When my old email that I've had since the 90s, it was a Rocket Mail email.
Jeez.
But which is back around. It's still working. It went away and then came back. Like it was what Yahoo bought to kind of their first big webmail. But my email for that is Ken420. So, yeah, I can't. You talk about not being able to give it. So, there's me giving out my email. Fuck. I already got a million fucking spam things already. You bitches better not spam me. I just had to add another spam filter. I've had it for so long. I have so many spam filters that most of the filters hit it, so nothing makes it to my inbox because I have it set to where it's like if it doesn't explicitly say this, don't even route it to me. But yeah, I've had that since like the 90s or whatever. But yeah, Ken420, and I'm like, yeah, this is going to be good.
Sir, we are pleased to offer you this position. We will just need you to pass multiple drug screens on your way in. And also, would you be willing to work on April 20th, or is that a day that you will always be asking?
Sure, that's a holiday. I can't possibly work on that day.
A special project lined up.
It's been a minute since I smoked. I could probably piss clean right now if I had to. I have like the vape pens. I haven't used
probably.
I think I probably.
Not even 100% sure.
No, actually, probably. Well, that shit sits in your system for like 2 months or whatever. It can if you're mainly if you're a heavy user. So no, I'm sure I'd be clean. I
say all the iron. I see you out there. Look at you, bro. You're like the gym influencer now. Like,
dude, I'm about to go hard on that.
Kenny Swole up in there or whatever.
I think there's already a Kenny Swole out there. I think so. But no, it's funny. Well, Shanda, who you know, Shanda from the UFC, she started putting some stuff on there the other day, and I was like, dude, I
saw her. She's just getting into weightlifting. She's only been doing like 6 weeks.
Yeah, I think she's doing CrossFit stuff, which is hard, man. Like, I mean, I know if there's some CrossFitters, like CrossFit is just hard on your body. Like, right. I mean, back when me and Albert used to do some CrossFitting stuff after, Fiasco Jones, if people don't know who this Albert guy is, at the UFC, I was in great shape, but man, like it can be hard on your shoulders and hard on a lot of your joints and stuff, but it's really, really fun. It's good for you. But man, I'm not big for the CrossFit anymore because I just started like injuring myself doing it, but it's legit when you come to like working out. But no, I mean, I love working out, man. Now it's just like I'm too broke to go out and do anything, so I just go into the garage and work out and stuff. But no, it's a lot of fun. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll just film it, But the biggest part, it's not like trying to be like whatever, but it's just having a reason. Because if I look
accountability, accountability to yourself almost,
and I put it out there so I can't take it away. Because when I leave them on my phone, I erase the shit. because I look at it at some point, I'm like, man, it's fucking embarrassing. I'll
Right.
take it off and I erase it. But if I put it out there, I can't take it back.
A
Well,
lot.
obviously, I could delete it, but I just put it out there. And if it helped anybody, but it's mainly just for me to show that yes, I'm doing work. And
That's
if it
cool.
gives me another motivational reason just to get into the gym, I'm like, let's do it. So yeah, tonight we're gonna do some bench work, man. We're gonna try to do some stuff, and I'm not gonna like preach and say this is why this, but I figured put it out there but like you said,
Respect,
accountability.
man. Respect. You deserve it, man. You deserve it.
So
you also deserve respect for filling in for me today at the UFC Media Day. I gave you.
Amy Capley would say that was her.
Was she the one that stepped up the
Obviously,
game?
we can't do it without her. If you ask her, we can't do it without her. Bless her heart.
I was a late scratch to today's Media Day. I had
super late.
Super late. Yeah. It was funny because you actually reached out to me last night.
I messed up today. Like I got there like 45 minutes an hour early. I don't know why I thought it was like 10:15.
This was later because we got a later fight card.
Yeah. So it was 10. I got there at 10:15. It wasn't supposed to be doors until 10:45 or like 11. So I sat in the parking lot like a dummy. But then I saw your message, and you're like, "Oh, late scratch." I think I was in the parking lot, or I was getting ready to go there. I can't remember what time you actually said it, but yeah, I was like, "Wow, this is the latest Morgan cancellation."
I felt so bad because you even hit me up last night, being like, "Hey, I hadn't heard from you, so I'm assuming you're not going to be there." And I'm like, "No, yep. I'm going to be there, bro." Like,
I sent it to Kaplan. She was like, "Yay!"
Yeah, I'll be there.
And then I sent her your message today. She's like, "Boo."
Yeah. So the late scratch. My car has been dropped off now. So hopefully my vehicle is being repaired again. Not going to complain too much. Not bad damage, but it is being repaired.
Did they give you an estimate of time?
So here's the thing. So they called me today and they're like, "Hey, we had an opening up. They're like, if you can get your car in today, we might be able to have it back to you this week." And I was like, "What?"
Might be able to.
They're like, "Worst Monday," and I was like, "Okay." If not,
so they said next Monday at worst.
At worst.
Wow, that's
good.
Yeah,
because I wasn't even going to be able to drop it off till next Monday based on their schedule, and then it was going to be like next Friday. So there's a possibility it's been a whole week earlier. So I was like, "Hold on, I'll be there. Give me a second. Like, let me go figure this out." But I had to get a rental car figured out, and I'm not using my insurance. I'm using the other person's insurance because I don't want to have to pay the deductible, number one, and I don't want to have a ding on my insurance, you know what I mean? So my rates don't go up. So I had to do so it's an extra step, I guess, like an extra layer of getting things done. So I was like, hold on, let me see if I can get that done. Call the rental place. They're like, yeah, actually, you can come pick up the rental car right now. And so I'm like, I called my wife. What are you doing? Is there any way you can help me, move all these pieces around? She's like, yeah, I got you. So we went and figured it out. Then I go over to the rental car place. And it was funny because the guy from the insurance company had called me, and he was like, "All right, we'll set you up with a rental. Don't worry, I'll make the reservation for you. It's all good." And I was like, "Okay." He was like, "We'll handle the billing. You don't have to touch a thing." I'm like, "All right, cool." I'm like, "What kind of car do I get?" They were like, "Well, let me look at our policy in Nevada." They're like, "Well, sir, the law in Nevada states that we have to give you a vehicle that is measurable to the vehicle that you are losing the use of. So we'll give you something similar in comparison." I'm like, "Well, that seems awfully fair. Cool." I roll in today to get the thing. I don't know what this car was. It was a Chevy something. They said the name of it, and I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Whatever that is." And the guy was like, "Yeah, it's like kind of a normal, just like a basic, like a basic
Chevy
car."
Nova. Or
yeah.
something.
And I was like, I only need it for a couple of days. I was like, so that'll be fine. Bro, he pulls up this car. And like my wife has a Fiat 500 as like our second vehicle, and it's just like it was smaller than that. Wow. I mean, it was like. This thing, like, if you'd have seen it on the streets of Europe, just, you'd have been like a smart car. Yeah, you'd have been like, oh,
those
well, that's
things are ridiculous.
So tiny. I'm like, so I went back to the guy at Enterprise, and I'm like, hey, man, I'm like, I was told that they have to give me a vehicle similar. I was like, no, I don't have the biggest vehicle. It's a Kia Soul, but I'm like, it's bigger than that. I was like, you probably can't even fit in that. And he was like, well, it's a little small. He's like, let me see. So anyway, he went and juggled a few things. He was like, you know what? It looks like they've got a little wiggle room. And anyway, he ended up giving me a Dodge Legacy, I think it's called, or something. It's a Dodge. It's like an SUV. So that took a little getting done. Yeah. So it's actually even bigger than the Kia Soul. So shout out to my guy at Enterprise for hooking up. He was like, don't worry, we got it. We were able to make it fit under. But yeah, they were trying to hose me for a little bit, and I'm like, man, I was like, I might only be driving this thing for a week, but like, there's gonna be times where it's me, my wife, and my kid. I'm like, we already have one car that we don't all really fit in. Like, we just use that for little one runs. You know what I mean?
Did the insurance place send you to them?
Yeah, oh yeah, they were like, this is the company we use.
He was trying to get you the least bit out the door or whatever.
100%. And I will say, to the gentleman's credit, Enterprise as well, he was also like, hey man, he was like, before he was able to see what he's able to do for me, he was like, look, man, if you call them and push back, like, they'll give you more. Like, you just have to call. Like, nobody ever calls because nobody wants to deal with them. He was like, so I had to get on the phone a little bit and that sort of stuff. So it was good. It was a little bit of a hassle, but the good thing is, car is now being worked on. May have it back as soon as this week. I'm not holding out hope. I'm thinking Monday.
Yeah.
But
you ain't going to get back this week.
Right. But at least it's in the progress now. So anyway, shout out to you for the late scratch figuring it. I'm sorry. Shout out to Amy Kaplan. Yes, I appreciate Amy Kaplan filling in on latest. In fact, next time, I just need to get her number. I'll just send a note directly to her. I won't even tell you. She can pass the.
Well, I started telling her today. I was like, I think we could just probably expect that Morgan's not going to be at media days. I was like, well, she even afterwards, she's like, I should just prepare my stuff. I shouldn't have not stopped preparing. I was like, yeah, Amy, that's on you. That's on you.
I was still trying to be as many Las Vegas media days as possible. So,
how many did you make in the last couple months?
So anyway, did you guys see the news today? The lawsuit. This is
big news.
Not joking. Big news. Settlement reached in the UFC antitrust lawsuit. Shout out to Cold Coffee. I'll be honest with you, it was actually your tweet that I saw. But we know this lawsuit that's been going on for a decade. I'm sure everybody that's listening to this has seen the news. This thing has been settled. $335 million is going to be the pay. It's going to be made in installments. We don't know exactly what the installments are.
Oh my!
Oh yeah, it's not even a big lump sum. What if it turns out it's being paid over the course of like 50 years or something?
That's the crazy thing. And then it's crazy because we've seen the UFC in the past. It's like they've have operated where they had like this revolving line of credit, and over years. I remember one year that it was like 300 and some million or whatever, which is why that number struck me as odd because I was like, dude, that sounds like what they do for like this operating loan, and then they would pay it every couple of years. It just seemed to me like they literally, and the fact that they're able to write it off, and I'm not trying to jump in. It just feels like
tax deductible.
And I know you're going to say it. It feels like it couldn't be a better deal for the UFC.
100%. So that's exactly where I was going with it. Well, the first thing I wanted to point out was your tweet, which I think is something, before we even talk about the details that you just mentioned that we have to talk about. Immediately, your tweet was, I wonder how much is actually going to fighters and not lawyers. Glad these guys are getting paid, but if it changes nothing, is it a win? So two major points there. Number one, I wonder how much is going to the lawyers. So that's one thing to remember right away. I've seen a couple tweets and some conversations out there. It sounds like 30% to a third, maybe even up to half, but it sounds like around a third is a pretty safe assumption.
Which my gut initially thought was like, oh, half's gone.
Half.
I feel good that people are saying like typically it's less. Like according to my internet search, which makes me an expert, it said 25 to like 30-some%. And then I saw Aaron Bronstetter put out like 30 to 60. You saw somewhere it was like a third. So even if we just say a third, roughly 110 million of this 330 is gone.
Which is
still sounds like a huge amount, but then we also heard that the number of litigants has went up over this point, so then the money starts going. And what was crazy is this went for so long, and we knew, I think there's part of us are like, yes, these guys deserve to get paid, but it was about the change that was going to come from this, like this overarching, why we did this was to change so that fighters' futures would be different. And it just feels like when it came down to brass tacks at the end of it, like those that were maybe so tired of dealing with this were just like, well, they dangled a carrot and they started making the case for why we would have to do all these other loops. And they're just like, at the end of the day, I got to get mine, and that's what it felt like it boiled down to at the very end. And I'm not judging them. I don't disagree, because if somebody offered me, even if it was just at the blanket, say 100,000, somebody said, here's $100,000 more than what you ever thought probably on the best day was going to come from this. Because as much as we thought like it was going to be this big, broad, sweeping thing, I think there was still the realization a lot of us thought this was going to get dismissed and the guys weren't going to get anything.
100%.
So the fact that they actually said, okay, let's make this agreement and let's get out of it, and you guys are going to get something. I can see where somebody's like, holy cow. We actually could get something.
And you really can't blame anybody.
And I don't, right?
It was Nate Quarry put out a big statement. I think he put it out on Facebook, but Luke Thomas, I think, snapshotted it and put it out there, where Nate, who was one of the primary litigants,
the original ones,
really talks about, look, there was just so many more hurdles that were still going to have to be jumped through. And this gives us an opportunity to put at least a little bit of money in people's hands. I think the average they're saying, the numbers I've seen, is probably around $180,000 per fighter that's a member of the class. But we don't know that it's going to be paid out in equal amounts, which I don't think it should be paid out in equal amounts. We don't know the details of that. We won't know for another 30 to 45 days. I think the only way to do it is to not divide it by the number of fighters, but divide it by the number of fights of those fighters. And then, if you fought one time in that class, you get this. If you get twice, you get double that. You know what I mean? Where it's like a unit, not divided by the number of fighters involved, but divided by the number of fights that they had. So that if somebody fought 30 times in that class period and you fought once they deserve 30 times more than you, in my humble opinion.
That raises the subject. Can we possibly now see infighting about how they even break the separation of this money?
I don't think so, because I think it's done in the agreement.
About how it's going to get paid.
You could have on the way as it was being done.
I guess it's good if it's laid out and there's no bickering. But I can see where somebody's like, well, hey, I was part of the suit. I deserve more.
Where people could argue. I don't think. Now I could be wrong. And again, I always preface, for the entire decade this has been going on, I've always prefaced it to say, like, hey man, I am not a legal expert. And you look at the guys like John Nash that have killed it. You know what I mean? Like, they are legal experts. They've poured over the legal documents. You know what I mean? Yeah. But my understanding is that
I'm glad there's people out there that that
can do that.
Not everybody does that. Everybody's like, why don't you do that? I'm like, because there's guys out there that do it really well.
Yeah, because I would not be good at it. Like, they're way better. So, but my understanding is the details are done. They just haven't been released yet, and they won't be until like 30 to 45 days now. But, it feels like a UFC win right now. It just does feel like a UFC win, because not that that's an insignificant amount of money, but to them it kind of is an insignificant amount. I mean,
what's the valuation right now of the company?
Oh, like $17 billion or something.
$17 billion. So they get out with, a third of $1 billion.
I saw Anton Tabuena, former Bloody Elbow employee, tweet this. For context, this is his quote, and I didn't verify the numbers, but I'm taking him as word. He's done a lot of research on this too. For context, that's only $27 million more than Ari Emanuel's 2021 pay, or roughly just 25% of the UFC's yearly revenue. So, I mean, it's not an insignificant amount of money, but it's a bump in the road. You know what I mean? It's a minor little hurdle versus potential billions that were on the table. So it feels like a UFC win. Now, we don't know the full details yet. Maybe there were some contractual changes. I get the feeling there probably wasn't. I get the feeling that was probably part of the settlement. But it's a weird thing, because I was thinking about it. I didn't necessarily love the way that my time ended with MMA Junkie, right? I didn't necessarily walk out the door as the happiest of employees. But if I had gone back and been like, I'm going to really fight this, and I think I can make something better for all of us, and I want to make something better for future generations of people who have the same job I do with the same company I do, and I'm going to fight tooth and nail for what I believe is right, so that those that come after me will have it right. Boy, if they came up to me and were like, yeah, or here's like, I don't know, $500,000 to just walk away, I'd be like,
see ya.
Good luck, future journalists. You know what I mean? Best to you. Come holler at me if you need any advice. I'm happy. Here's my phone number. It starts with 469. Reach out to me, bro. We'll have you talk. So I can't blame him. And Nate Quarry.
So that's 2%. It's roughly 2% of the overall valuation.
To put, I mean, look,
to get away with that is ridiculous.
The instantly, the moment the news went out, the stock price went up, because people were like,
I saw that.
Whoops. Like, oh yeah, we're all in on that.
They cleared that hurdle.
Easy. They cleared that hurdle. I was a little scared to invest, because I was a little worried about this hurdle, but now that hurdle's gone.
Plus the tax write-off, so that they can offset business losses. How would you write off? Unless they have to probably just consider it as a loss. So that's more income and more things that they could do, and then have this huge offset for their taxes. That's a win. So it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I'm not saying it's ridiculous like bad UFC. It's just sheer ridiculousness on, like you said, it feels like it went so much better for the UFC at the end of the day than what people thought. I thought at least $1 billion was going to get paid out.
I did too.
Especially at the fact of the valuation. Yeah, I was thinking even if it was valued at $7 billion, I was still expecting $1 billion was going to have to go. Now 100%, you're saying because 17 is ridiculous.
And you touched on it, because I still wasn't 100% convinced that they would be found guilty, right? So I did think that there was a possibility it'll be zero.
Yeah.
But I was like, if they are found guilty,
big number.
Big number.
It could be half.
Yep.
And then the way that I mean, granted, I mean, because then you feel like, all right, well, there's going to be a settlement, and then could there be some other sort of judgment, or does it open up some other judgment? But I guarantee with the settlement, it closes the door on any follow-up lawsuits that could go off to the side, and maybe that was already part of the class action that they ceded the rights to do any other sort of like civil things off to the side. But now it seems like with this, it clearly says to I would imagine these guys, they said, you, sir, you're going to take this. You're done with us.
You're done.
You're never coming back to us ever again for any other thing. And for, say it's 100,000, say it's 180,000, and if you're one of the original guys and you thought at one point you're going to get millions of dollars to have that, and then have no, I mean, I know they were really sort of selling at the beginning, like we're doing this for the fighters. We're going to change things. We're going to do other stuff.
Yep.
But man, like you said, I mean, if you think that there's a possibility you weren't going to get anything and this thing was going on, and times are tough right now. If somebody threw a big old carrot in front of me, I can't blame them by any means, for doing what was best for them and for their family. Maybe it was us and I had a pipe dream thinking like this was actually going to change things for the better. It certainly changed. It's going to be changing things immediately for those that are involved, and I'm happy for that. But maybe we were putting too much into it in the first place, thinking that there was going to be this broad, sweeping change. Because, I mean, that's kind of how I felt like it was sold to us.
I did too.
At the beginning. I guess shame on us for thinking that, fairy tales actually come true, that at the end of the day, it's, I don't want to say greed. Because at the end of the day, people's lives and that amount of money changes lives, so I can't fault them by any means.
That's it. I mean, there's, if there's a lot of guys that we know are kind of hard up, right? And if they say, look, man, we can fight this another 10 years, right? We can fight this another 10 years. And look, there's a possibility that you walk away with a check for $1 million in 10 years.
Yeah.
Or if you think it's the right thing to do, and again, we don't know that the figures are going to be equally distributed, but let's just for argument's sake, or listen, I can get you a check for $180,000 in about 60 days.
Yeah.
It's real.
How do you not?
You know what I mean?
You can open up a business. You can, I mean, that's huge seed money. I mean, that's money that literally can give you a year of breathing room and still start a business.
Maybe there's a mortgage you pay off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe there's some debt that you're able to clear or whatever. So I get, you know what I mean? So it's like I see a lot of people, and look, man, the internet is getting less and less a place that I go to for people's opinions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you see a lot of people just kind of trashing them and being like, oh, these suckers just took and look, they did end up not. Well, we don't know this yet, and I guess that's the last thing is. I think it's important to withhold final judgment on who were the victors and how much the where it was until we see the full decision in 45 to 60 days, the full agreement, because maybe some stuff did get changed. They did tweet out today, the MMA FA tweet out, we are pleased with the settlement and will disclose more when we file with the court in 45 to 60 days. We love all these guys. There was a photo attached to it that said that today's decision is a victory for past, current, and future UFC fighters and moves us one step closer to our goal of making MMA a legitimate professional sport where wins determine title shots, not promoters. Now, look, just reading between the lines
That's saying a lot right there.
Right? Reading between the lines there, does that not – to me, that insinuates that something had to change because –
I guess we'll see in 60 days if we see fights that aren't number 2 fighting number 1 and number 1 fighting the championship.
Well, to say that it's a victory for current and future UFC fighters, right? And I mean – how would a $335 million settlement affect current and future UFC fighters? You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't. It's just that would be just it's a victory for those guys that didn't make as much as they were supposed to make.
I know that partly, like the fighters have always sort of sold their likeness to the UFC. Maybe for future, it's as easy just saying, like the UFC saying, okay, you can market yourself. Doesn't mean you could still wear shit into the octagon because I control the broadcast. Right. But if you want to market your likeness, if you want to set up your own deals off to the side, you have that freedom.
Well, they can do that now. They just can't use the UFC brand at all.
I got you.
See what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, you can do whatever you want, but like,
Well, that works.
You can just say.
I thought that they couldn't even market themselves. I thought we couldn't have like a John Morgan doll off.
You can. It just can't have like it just has to be like generic. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't have it wearing UFC gloves or I'm sure if you even made it look kind of like the Venom uniform, you know what I mean? Like just even the same colors or whatever, you'd be in violation. So they have that ability to some degree, not maybe as much as they might like. Yeah. You can't say UFC champion or whatever. So. I don't know.
Suck.
It just feels. Look, it feels.
Guy from Mississippi fights at a featherweight. You know,
Exactly. Yeah, you got to walk away. You got to round about it.
hard to kind of market that.
Like kind of like the big game with Super Bowl. But now I think they even have that. You can't even say the big game. Now you have to say. I did see one today. Or no, I saw it the other day. Gosh, it's one of the casinos that just has a big billboard like showing a sports book, and it's just like enjoy all the madness. Because obviously March Madness. Yeah. So they're like, come in and place your bets. Enjoy all the madness.
They've been talking all that because the Super Bowl, I saw some report, like the Super Bowl did crazy amount like of money or whatever, 185 million or something crazy that the casinos brought in. But they're saying they're going to make more off the March Madness.
Oh, yeah, it's huge, right?
Yeah, March Madness is nuts.
This is a cool place, man. A cool place to take in more. If you're a college basketball fan, this is a cool place to do it. So, anyway, I will say, I'll be honest with you, just as I sit here now, it feels like a big UFC win. I would just say, I guess, make sure that understand there's still a little bit of peace on the table, a little bit of something to get information on in 45 to 60 days. And then at that point, I think you have the full scope of things to say, all right, now I believe this was right, this was wrong, this was a win, this was a loss, whatever. So
and you can't fault them. I mean, it's like saying like, oh, there was a car accident, and this business that ran into your car, like, bro, hold out for more. How dare you not, push them to the limit, where at the end of the day, like, they're getting money, The UFC, I guess, good for the UFC that they're able to get out with not paying an arm and a leg. I think they should have had at least been $1 billion, but whatever. We can't fault these. I mean, like shame on anybody that's going to try to shame these people for actually setting for money and not trying to do this. Oh, well, we wanted you to change the whole thing. We wanted you to just redo the whole industry. I mean, as much as we want that, that's us putting that on them. I mean, I know that they wanted to say a little bit like that, but you can't fault them.
But that's why
for being
I think
human and taking money.
And you're 100% right. And I think that's why, I know me personally, I won't speak for you, but I think you and I stand on the same page that I am not very optimistic about a union ever happening, an association ever happening, because it is so hard to get everybody aligned on the same page. You know what I mean? Because there's always people that'll step in. There's always people that, hey, man, if you take care of me, I'll be all right. It's impossible. I've said it, and I'll say it one last time. Again, it'll never happen, but I think the easiest way to ever force the UFC's hand is get 10 fighters who are the 10 fighters on a main event of a UFC pay-per-view and get those 10 people to agree that none of us are walking out for the main card tonight until we get some kind of agreement that, I don't know what it would be because you're not going to be able to negotiate a whole agreement right there. You know what I mean? But like, hey, we've got a sold-out crowd at Madison Square Garden. You've got 1 million in pre-sale buys, and guess what? None of the 10 of us are walking out tonight unless you agree that something needs to be done and we need to have a more discussion. You know what I mean? Something along that. Again, I don't even think you could get 10 people together to do it. You know what I mean?
But I hear that's the reasoning and thought behind the UFC 300 poster that we saw released. So
that rather
than
poster.
Put any fighters on it, they're just going to be like, here.
That cannot.
It can't be.
I know the social media account tweeted the official poster.
And it was UFC Europe. Sometimes they do some weird shit, you know, like they put some whatever things. Almost like it was like, bro, you didn't fully export the artwork or something along those lines.
It can't
but I
be the
saw
official
that
poster.
and I was like, how fitting for the storyline of putting this card together. Is it that's the one? It's like we thought, oh, it's gonna be this, and it's like, here, use your imagination.
Well, I tell you what, to come out on the same day that the lawsuit news comes out and that it's settled, that is like pretty like, guess what? We don't care whose name's on it. It's just our name.
We had to pay for the art. We had to pay for this, so we sacked the artists that would normally be doing this. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of funny where it doesn't seem like there's any possibility. Like, I'm thinking that when the first time we get Dana on camera, he's going to be like, yeah, my company fucked up and released something they should have. Like, those guys are crazy. Because, I mean, they pride themselves. I mean, they have a whole art department. Like, that was literally like, hey, I have a template, a color backdrop template, and we're going to put it out there with a funny 300 font. It's funny, like, it got shared in our Slack channel where somebody tricked the 300 and turned it over so it looks like it says, woo! And then they had the
Ric Flair. I saw that. Dude. I don't know who did that.
I chuckled when I saw that. I was like, dude, that was perfect.
That was great.
But, yeah, I mean...
No, it has to.
It's so bad.
I mean, you can't sell a $2,000 autograph poster with no faces on it, right? It's got to be 2000 this time, I bet.
I mean, they're really hurting because of that $330 million. They're like, we got to let some people go. So this is the new poster work.
Yeah, it was funny, man. I had somebody text me like, they read the news and they were
people
like,
are losing their mind over it.
Over the poster or the alleged poster. Yeah. Somebody that saw the lawsuit settlement text me. They're like, does this mean that pay-per-view prices are going to go up? I'm like, no, this means they're popping champagne over at the office right now. Like.
Somebody in the UFC Europe office that has, I'm guaranteed, got an earful. I wonder if it's. I assume it's still up. I mean, granted, it's going to live in the fact of like people are out there sharing it, but I wonder if the UFC Europe still has it up. Let's look.
Let's pull it up. Right?
Frantic search.
Yep, still there. Your official UFC poster.
But do you see the one? Is it on the same thing? The Jose Aldo.
Look at you over here replying to it. I mean, it kind of fits the storyline of this card. Look at you getting salty out here, bro.
But look at the other one, the Martinez Aldo. Tell me it doesn't look like that's just the backdrop, and they just didn't put the artwork over top of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, yeah, I was a little cheeky earlier.
Look at cheeky bastard over here. Little cheeky Ken Hathaway.
But it makes sense, doesn't it?
Oh, cheeky 1K Hathaway. I like it, man.
I don't know who that guy is. I don't know who that is.
That's hilarious.
My handle is the Cold Coffee.
I love it. All right. Listen. The other bit obviously got swallowed up in the news, but I guess a big interesting. I kind of want to get your take on it because it was what I had heard was going to be the case. And it was finally confirmed. I don't necessarily know why it took so damn long to get announced.
So ridiculous.
But Bellator is going to be on Max. And I'll be honest with you.
It's a huge platform.
I like this move.
It's a huge platform.
I don't like the delay of the announcement. Yeah. I do believe, and I was very critical, and I think I'll remain critical of it. When they changed from HBO Max to Max, I thought it was kind of silly to lose that HBO branding because I thought there was such power in that brand.
Yeah.
But as this thing has evolved, now I understand it more that like basically, and it kind of is, if you think about it, really, it's kind of, I think, staying a step ahead of the curve, right? Because I think right now, I mean, we know what financial situations are like across the country and I think around the globe, but people are cutting back, right? And I think all of us are realizing now we all have so many damn streaming services that, you know, how many can we really afford and how many do we want to keep? And Max is basically like, it's like they're creating their own network, right? It's like they're creating their own bundle package where you get all these different, or brands and organizations and networks all under one. So that essentially what they've done with Max is create their own little broadcast network. I get it. Still a little surprised you give away the HBO branding in there.
Yeah. I hear Max, I think of Cinemax, which makes me think of Skinemax, which was like all the softcore porn back in the day. Like, it's just so weird. Like, the HBO was the big part of it, like.
Exactly.
I mean, I guess if maybe because, like HBO and some of the things sort of felt like they were pulling away from sports, and maybe they assumed or maybe the HBO felt like it was tied to a sports where the Max, take it to the max. Maybe they think there's going to be more like marketing things, but it was just weird. Like HBO was, in my eyes, was like the A side of the HBO and the Max part
100%.
Was the A side of the Max was the B side of it. But I can't not think of Cinemax when I hear
it's weird. But I like this move, and it sounds like you're on board with it too. But because I could see a lot.
It's not cheap. I mean, like Cinemax. Now I can't get out fucking Cinemax. So with ads, if you try going right now, it's $10 a month with ads. It's $15.99 ad free, or you could do the ultimate ad free, $20. It's not cheap.
It's not cheap. But let me say this. This is why I like it. And maybe this is a very personalized thing, but to me, because I can see a lot of people being very critical, right? Because the Showtime deal, I think the Showtime deal was part of the reason for Bellator's demise, right? Is that like they got money, on the books theoretically because it was one company paying itself, but they got money, but nobody was watching Showtime. Nobody was seeing anything.
Yeah.
And so, I could see a lot of people saying, well, aren't they repeating the mistake here? It's one premium channel to another premium channel. And I think that's a fair question to ask. But I will tell you, I honestly, Max to me is, and because this is the hardest thing for me in the streaming app era, I guess.
Yep.
Is there's so many damn choices
of
just finding like, where do I go? What do I do? What do I look for? And I'll be honest with you, Max is one of the things that if I'm like, I don't know what I want to watch, it's one of the apps that I'll open because they have so much quality entertainment on there, so much quality programming, that I go in there as kind of a default of like, let me see what's on. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think I ever went to Showtime going, let me just see what they got.
I never did. And I mean, maybe maybe I need to give it another chance. 'Cause I know people are talking about it. I know when I had Max, I felt like after I got through the main shows on there was nothing for me on there.
Sir, it's now a business expense.
Maybe.
I mean, how can you possibly?
Well,
do
see,
your
but I
job?
don't write on it, so it's a little bit
I
tougher.
mean, how would you know how to prep materials for spinning back click if you're not
true.
watching
That's
the
true.
content? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
how would you?
Let me throw that to the bosses and see.
How would you? I mean,
How I can't watch commercials. Commercials are just gonna hurt the creative process.
Right.
So obviously I need to go the $15.99 route. I like what you're thinking.
You know what I'm saying?
But I already pay for like stuff on YouTube that I'm like,
how you as the member of MMA Junkie have more access to UFC President Dana White than anyone else,
that's
right?
True. And I got to be able to ask him about this flip flop show or this House Hunter.
How would you how would you be able to quiz him about the competition and what is being accomplished over there if you're not the one that's I mean, to me, that is a clear-cut business expense, sir.
I do want to watch. I haven't watched The Last of Us. I was almost going to order. That's what I found myself with Max. I would order it for the Game of Thrones season,
right,
and other stuff. And I found and maybe I haven't went back and saw like a bunch of other stuff because some of the other guys were saying like there was these newer shows on there that look good. But every time I went to it, it was like
Last Week Tonight
old
with
shows.
John Oliver every week. You would enjoy that. You would enjoy that.
Bad, but I mean, like once you've seen it, you've seen it
every week. It's a fresh show
but
every
it's
week.
Still John Oliver just doing John Oliver.
But it's great. It's informational. You learn. You stay up on your news.
I don't know if I could cut into my anime time.
I mean, that's tough. It may cut into the Korean rom-coms. That like where would you?
I'd have to turn Crunchyroll off to put the Max on.
Crunchyroll. I mean, just the fact that it's named Crunchyroll, you're like, this is not for my demographic.
I will never be able to date anybody else because they're gonna be like, you're a fucking dork.
I don't know. So what do you think?
I don't know.
So are you still a little apprehensive then if this is a good move?
No, I mean, I think from what I'm getting the feedback, the overall positive feedback that I'm getting from people that actually watch Max, I think it's a good idea. I mean, I don't see myself. I mean, outside of Junkie paying for it, I don't see myself getting this just to watch for these Bellator series. And with that, all right, so is it just the Bellator fight series where most of those events are overseas? I mean, if there are only going to be a couple events here in the States, why do I care? I'm not even going to know who's fighting over there anyways. Like, why am I going to get this service if most of the stuff they're doing this Bellator champions, and my Bellator people I know are going to fucking kill me for this, but in Belfast or it's in Paris or it's whatever. That's all sounds glamorous, but if I don't know half the fight card,
no, see, I think you're thinking of like PFL Europe cards. Bellator cards are not going to be that way.
But it's the Bellator.
No, it's just Bellator.
Series.
No, it's the Bellator Champion Series.
Yeah, Bellator Champion Series. But that's like most of that's like overseas, isn't it?
It is, but I think what you're thinking. But the talent, they're not using just overseas talent.
Yeah.
Like the way PFL Europe focuses on that, or PFL MENA, like the way that is focused on regionalized talent. That's not what these cards are focused on. In fact, you've got Friday is the debut event on Max. We do know that's where it'll debut. Now, it's okay. So here's the card: Corey Anderson versus Carl Moore, Patricio Pitbull versus Jeremy Kennedy. So out of those four, only one of them is European, and he's actually the hometown guy.
I only know two of the guys.
Oh wow. It's terrible.
They give me shit every time
This is why you need HBO Max.
Yeah. You should have seen the time when they were bringing the PFL president to the back. I was like, Tony, who is this guy? She's like, Kenny, you should know who our people. I was like, I cover UFC. I was like, who is this Peter Murray guy?
It was Pete Murray, right?
Yeah, I was like, who is this Pete Murray guy? She's like, Kenny. But it'd almost be like if they were like, if I didn't know, now I know who Don Davis is or whatever.
Right.
But it'd almost be like, we're going to have Don Davis. I'd be like, who's that? What am I supposed to ask, man? I don't know who this guy is.
I mean, look, I can't blame you. Your beat is 99%
I
UFC.
live in the UFC bubble, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I can barely keep up with the UFC fight cards, let alone, staff that are running other organizations. But I should know who these people are. And now I do, to my credit. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess if there's enough, if I'm going to see enough of the Bellator names, like if they're going to keep it, I'm going to see the names that I know.
Yeah.
I can barely keep up with the new people going in the UFC, let alone, PFL and Bellator, and I don't know. As long as it's people, as long as there's like people that I'm going to see multiple
it's going to be
times,
names
not
that you're
just
going to
names
recognize.
like,
Yep, it's going to be names that you're going to recognize. I think you're going to like it better than the regionalized product. So give it a shot this Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern. So I guess you'll probably catch a little bit later because you'll be at the official weigh-ins.
How dare they put them on at the same time?
But that's actually where I thought you were leaning. I didn't realize you were talking about the talent. But the whole schedule is out. It's Belfast, Paris, Dublin, San Diego, London, Chicago, Paris, right?
That's what I'm telling you.
There's only overseas. There's only 2 shows that would be U.S. prime time. So I thought you were going to talk about the fact that they were, which by the way, I like the daytime shows. I like the Europe shows because they don't overlap.
It just,
that's where I thought you were going.
When it's on an event where if it's a Saturday and if I'm working the UFC beat, like I can't do both.
Right.
Like I'm gonna end up missing most of them. But I mean, if they're having names that makes me want to watch it, that would be cool. My whole thing was like when I kept seeing like Belfast, Paris, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
They draw so many of the local area.
Paris
was
a PFL Europe event, so that's different. So I understand.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's some brand. Look, this is exactly why we always talk about why it never makes sense to run 2 concurrent brands simultaneously, right? Because the mistake that you're making, and you're a hardcore, the mistake that you're making is a very simple one, is an easy one to make, right? Not different. I mean, because they're the same company.
Right.
Yeah, but it's not the same company. Well, what do you mean? They're both owned by the same company.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this one has a different roster that they use. What? It's confusing, right?
Yeah.
So I think the mistake that you're making, honestly, is probably a mistake that a lot of people would. So that's going to be an education process.
I don't like schooling.
Nobody's. I will say, by the way,
another reason I can't get Max. I can't afford the education.
They do have Tuesday, December the 31st, still as a TBD. So I think a lot of people are holding out hope that will be a New Year's Eve in Japan.
Ooh.
Traditional New Year's Eve MMA
over
in Tokyo. I know, so
because UFC doesn't usually do shit on New Year's Eve night.
They don't, and so I'm throwing it out there into the universe now.
Now,
if they happen to be,
if I could
December
go cover
31st,
an event over in Japan, I would be more than I'd be on board.
I'm gonna try to make it Saitama if I can.
Saitama's so cool, man.
Yeah,
it's funny every time I see like something. Like behind the scenes, I tell me some of the old stuff, like just the visions of walking through the hallways in the back and like doing all that kind of stuff. Still such a cool memory, just that arena. It's so neat, man. And somebody brought up that today. They brought up Tokyo or something. I was just literally had a wave of like sadness that I don't get to go to Tokyo that often.
Well, maybe December 31st. Put it on your radar. All right, this week the UFC is at the UFC Apex. I will be there on Saturday. I'm pretty sure.
As a fan, or are you going?
No. That was my birthday last weekend. I got to enjoy a couple frosty beverages. This will be more in a working atmosphere.
Are you going to stick around to the post?
We'll see. It's kind of late. Yes, I'll stick around for the post. Amanda Hebus versus Rose Namajunas.
Dana didn't even stick around for the last one, so I can't blame you. Dana didn't even go to the last one.
He wasn't there.
He wasn't even there.
Yeah.
It's like, bro.
Yeah. Well, I think he'll be at this one. We'll see though. It's gonna be late. It's a late start. If you've gotten used to
he misses 2 events in a row.
If you've gotten used to the fight night start times, this one is a late one.
Yeah.
The prelims start at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. here, and then of course the main card starts at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. here. So a late night. I'll be honest, the earlier the shows, the better. For me,
100%.
I don't love these
on
time
these type
cards.
of shows. Yes, early.
I don't love
that's
these.
That's the whole beauty of it. I mean, we're like the last couple ones where we got out there at like by 7:30 or something. Like
amazing.
So nice.
Here we'll just be starting the main card, and I know that sounds like a lot of bitching, and it is.
It is.
We get out. There's a lot worse ways to make a living. I'm just saying, I like having Saturdays to myself.
Yeah, because you sit around all day knowing that we got to like, because like. I know there's been plenty of like chats like me, you, and Oscar have got on like a chat just like, dude, this sucks sitting around waiting to go to the Apex.
Right?
Can we just go? Can we just go and get this started? Like sitting around all day to work when it's like, dude, it's 5 minutes. Let's just get this going. Because the fighters want to fight too. I mean, like if they got enough time to make their weight or whatever, they want to go early as well. Like they don't want to sit.
They don't want to sit around and wait.
They don't want to sit around.
They don't want to sit around and wait. I mean, that's going to be. I mean, obviously, I was kind of already thinking ahead to like UFC 300. That's certainly going to be one of the questions I ask of like Cody Garbrandt, right? Because we know he's opening the show. In one way, he probably feels like. I wouldn't say disrespected. I think he, of all people, understands how big UFC 300 is and all that. But so I want to ask, it's got to be weird for you to be the first fight of the card. But I gotta believe there's a lot of positives, right? Like, hey, bro, I'm fighting at 3:15. I don't have to sit around and wait all night. I know exactly what time to warm up. I know exactly what time, so there's some positives. But you're right. Guys and girls don't want to sit around and wait. They have insane nerves that get built up. The anxiety is crazy. You're trying to keep your body fresh, but they're just like us. It's not like they can just sleep all day. So they're sitting around waiting. So anyway, enough griping about the time. It's still a big main event. Amanda Hebus, Rose Namajunas. The rest of the card, again, it's a fight night card. This is fighters staying busy, fighters trying to take steps forward. I think, to be honest with you, they're the only ranked contenders on the card in the main event, and it is a big one at 125, especially because, look, Rose, you kind of wonder where her future's at, right? I mean, This is big. She's in a new division. It didn't go well the first time. If it doesn't go well again, does she decide that she doesn't like it here at 25? Does she decide that she just doesn't want to do this anymore? You know what I mean?
That one, I think, would be maybe more than that. She made it sound like flyweight's where she's at.
Right.
Like, she feels good. She feels good in, like, her training. She says that she's healing up well. She's not getting hurt, like, in camp. She likes to eat. She's coming in better off. So, I mean, I would think that 35, unless it was, like, some crazy marquee matchup, I think she's just done with the strawweight.
Yep.
She's done with 15. And it's interesting.
And if she goes 0-2,
she obviously, because I switched my picks because I was like, dude, she was saying all the right things. So I was initially had Hebus, and then hearing Rose, I texted Matt and I was like, dude, I think I'm gonna switch my picks.
Yep.
I was like, Rose is saying all the right things. She's saying, like, the camp went good. She seems focused. She was happy. She was like talking with us. I mean, she just seemed in good spirits. I was like, this doesn't seem like her. Obviously, Amanda's going to come in there happy and giddy, talking or whatever.
Always.
But seeing Rose come in, I was like, dude, okay, maybe this is right, And I think this is a good opponent where Rose can be the Rose that we know. I think when you look on her record, I think it's easy for people to say, oh, man, she's going to be stressed out and she's feeling the pressure and she's doing whatever. Rose has been in big events. She's been in mega events. This is Amanda's first time headlining a UFC card, and against a former champ, this would be the biggest win of her career. So you got to think that, if anybody possibly is going to possibly have nerves or maybe do, something, it's going to be on her end.
And I feel like, and I could be wrong about this, but I just feel like for Rose, we know, and listen, This is not us being, I mean, she's openly talked about her anxiety, her struggles, all those things. I got to think for her, fighting the Apex is going to be a blessing. You said it, right? Not all that craziness and the madness and the chaos, just me, my coaches that I can hear, you know what I mean? Like, I just got to think, man, like, that's going to be her spot.
I feel like when we see her do the walks through the arenas, when everybody's always makes the big deal about her saying these things, she's chanting these, like, mantras.
Right.
Part of that, I feel like, is to focus and get rid of all that crap.
100%.
So let them take that away for you and then not have to deal with that. I think she's going to come in ready and fired up, and I think she realizes. She even mentioned earlier, like, she's not going to do this forever. She does aspire to want to try to get towards that title aspirations again. It's got to start here, because if it doesn't, then maybe she will have those thoughts of, like, maybe not time, maybe time to possibly step away, but man, I think it's gonna be a fun fight. I don't know why people were just shitting on it. Granted, people just shit on the Apex card. Like, that card, when you look at the top to bottom, is it as good as last week? I don't think this card is as good as last week. I thought last week still, rose to a higher level. This card is about this fight, and I'm excited for this fight. I mean, I hearing Rose and seeing that Rose felt happy and healthy and looked like she was excited to get in there and fight, and Amanda's always happy and fighting. I always love seeing her fight week. I think it's going to be a good fight. I mean, it's a fight that does mean something for that division. It means something also, too, just for the sense of, if Rose doesn't, then I think we all start questioning whether there's still a place for her in the organization, So, I mean, there's definitely stakes at hand that I think, as fans of the sport, how can you not be intrigued by that? Because of the potential of one of the, most beloved fighters, a legend in her own right, could possibly, be starting at the end of her days or whatever. I just don't think it. I think this is the perfect fight to show people that she still got it. So, I mean, I switched my pick. I could end up maybe regretting it, because there's something about when I see him on Fight Week. Sometimes I know I switch and I'm just like, you stupid.
Oh, it's
Should have just stuck with it. But it's like just seeing a good Rose like being so focused and happy. I was like, how could I not pick her?
I think it's
still Rose the champ right there.
It is funny because this game is so much mental, right?
100%.
But and I've talked about it before, but I believe it to the. We get so attached and associated to these athletes that we've seen 20 times.
Yeah.
That I think it's so much easier to pick the prelims because you're like, I've never talked to that guy. I mean, a lot of times this guy's a good, but you know what I'm saying? It's just easier
100%.
to be like, I don't know that person, I don't know that person, but I've seen them fight and I've seen the game, and the way I think their styles match up, I think it's that person. And it's not like,
because if I separated my feelings right now, I'd be like, why are you switching your pick, bro? Like, you're stupid. Like, you had your reasons why you picked it, but it's like, oh, she's happy, so now you're switching your pick. Now I sound really stupid when I think it like that.
But that stuff does matter.
That
stuff
does
matter. Like
it does.
To pretend that like those are just intangibles that have nothing to do with the fight.
It's like the nuances where somebody might be like, okay, well, what's different of this fight week than this fight week? It's still Rose. It's still an opponent. She lost this one. She's maybe going to lose this one. Why is it that she's happy and coming in confident, different? I'm sure she was confident in that one, but it's the slight differences.
Yep.
Because the way that she looked today felt different than when we saw her last time. Maybe it was just the uneasiness of going up a division, and maybe there was just something. And now she's been there. She feels like she could take
over
the
in
power,
Paris, right? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy, but I mean, fuck, maybe I'm just a homer for Rose. I mean, like, we've literally seen her grow up in front of us. I was like, remember when she had longer hair? You know, she was literally like the kid, just sort of like tagging along. She was tagging along with Pat.
100%.
And now Pat's tagging along with her.
That's so true. And isn't it so weird too that like, I remember when she shaved her head, it was such a big deal. And I was like, whoa, that's weird. Now, like, if she grew her hair back out, I'd be like, that is bizarre. Like, what do you...
When you think about it,
you know what I mean?
It would be weird because people are like, who is this?
What is
shave
that?
it again. Shave it. I mean, because everybody's like, oh, she's so cute. She's so pretty. Why would she shave her hair? And it's like, yeah, now if she grew it long, it looked...
You're like, that's so weird. That's not Rose. Like, what are you doing?
Who is this? Who is this? That's funny you say it like that. It's true.
It's a great fight. It's a meaningful one. Like I said, it's the only one with ranked contenders meaningful at 125 pounds. I think we already know that the winner of Aaron Blanchfield and Manon Fierro is probably going to be next in line. But you never know, man. Injuries, you never know what's going to happen. So this is an incredibly meaningful fight.
If one of them goes out and gets a crazy finish and does something spectacular, I mean, we've seen people catapult for lesser things.
Steve Erceg. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, who predicted that?
Nobody
predicted that. So you just never know.
That's a crazy one right there.
Anything else stand out for you today? That really, I know one of the big standouts I saw you tweet about as well was
Cameron Simon.
Cameron Simon happened off camera.
Yeah, his team. I'm not sure where they were at or how he did it, but it's funny because everybody was sort of remarking. Some people were chatting and thought that his outfit reminded him of some London schoolboy. So we're kind of joking with that, and then he gets off the stage, and Nabi's like, "Don't you guys think he looks good?" And we're just like, okay, yeah, sure, you know. And then that's when he went on to explain that their car got broken into and their gear got stolen, the coach's laptop got stolen, some of their clothing, if not all their clothing, whatever they had in quick view, I imagine, got taken. So they had to get other clothes. And I was just like, so I asked him, I was like, you know, were you able to get at least replacements of your gear so you could train? And they were able to get that. And he was in good enough spirits. But it's like, man, how can that not affect you in some sort of a way? You know, especially I feel bad for the coach too. Like, you know, laptops carry memories and carries all kinds of shit. And if that's your only place for it, that's just a shitty thing to happen. I mean, it's a shitty thing to happen anytime, but let alone to have it on a fight week is just terrible. So I thought, you know, that's something interesting. And Peyton Talbot, man, this dude is certainly a high belief of himself. I mean, the guy's a talent. I mean, like he's pretty impressive. So I think that's going to be a good fight. But the return of Yusuf Zalal.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people are excited for that. Boy, I should have been monitoring on. That guy was excited to be there. The audio was a little hot on that one because he was yelling in the mic.
He's awesome.
Because he was so stacked to be there. I mean, yeah, his personality is just, it's infectious, you know. That's a good fight against Billy Q across the way. The Dodson-Shabazian fight, I mean, I think that's going to be a good one. The Carl Williams and the Justin Taffa and the swap of the brothers again is kind of weird. I didn't really know that until the guys were talking about that. I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, I think it's a decent card. It's just, I think last week was, you know, kind of just better. But I mean, I think that. But I mean, maybe this is one of those cards. Kurt Hollabaugh, like that guy's been trying to get a fight since the Ultimate Fighter. I thought he looked really, really good on that, and now he's back. So it's good to see him back in there.
Ricardo Holmes, Julian Erosa should be absolute bonkers.
That should be a good one.
Miles Johns, Cody Gibson should actually be a really fun fight.
That should be a good one.
So you look at the fights on here. You're right. Again,
it's maybe not top to bottom, but there's gems.
Mm-hmm.
There's gems in there. And I mean, look at Usman and Park starting. Like that's a good fight.
Yep.
When I was leaving the Apex, he was getting Muhammad was getting off the bus, coming in and do his stuff. His big boy.
He's a tank.
He is, man. He is stocky, man. Yeah. So I mean, that's. I can't. Did I not? I think I didn't pick him, and I don't know why I didn't pick him, or maybe I did pick him. He's a real deal, man.
He just has to pull the trigger.
He's got to pull the trigger.
If he pulls the trigger,
I think that's a good
If he pulls the trigger, he's scary as hell. It's just sometimes he waits, and I get it. He's a big dude with a lot of muscles that doesn't want to get exhausted and fatigued.
True.
And that's smart, but you still got to pull the trigger.
You got to pull. I mean, that just harkens back when we were talking about Kennedy last week. I mean, if you're not pulling the trigger, and if you're not having that switch go off, you're leaving the door open for your opponent to kind of take it away from you.
Yeah, look exactly what happened, man.
Yeah, I think if he would go out there with maybe a little bit more, well, it's not like I was going to say maybe if he went out there more with his little brother's mindset, but his brother's has that problem as well too. Sometimes a little too reserved.
But he's fighting 25-minute championship fights. You know what I mean? Like, bro, you're playing 15.
Like, give me good 5 minutes, man. Just give me good 5 minutes. Go out there and throw them hands, and it's going to be over.
And you're facing another heavyweight that's probably going to be tired at the end of it, 5 minutes, too. So, let's just go for it.
This Parkin, dude, he
Parkin
looks legit, dude.
He does.
He looks really legit. I mean, he fought Cal Machado, good fighter, Jamal Pogues.
Yep.
And then he had his contender fight to get in there, and I don't really know much of the Rise and Conquer organization, the kind of fights, but still, I mean, like heavyweight coming in with no losses, that's something to pay attention to. But I mean, maybe this lives up to being, again, we're often surprised by these Apex cards, and that's why I think it's not fair for people to kind of just blanketly shit on these Apex cards, because I think it's just like Rose I'm sure is going to benefit from being in. I'm sure a lot of these other fighters will get in there. And again, at the end of the day, it's not the fans you're watching. You're like, people, relax. It's the fighters. Like, there's going to be good ones going on there. So, yeah, I mean, maybe it's going to be a great one. I just wish it was a little earlier so we can get out and have a night,
I agree. All right. Listen, do want to mention, in case anyone missed the news, it came out today. Late notice on this one, but a special event that we were putting together. It took a little while to get announced because we're working with the Air National Guard, but Fury Professional Grappling is going to have an event on Thursday, April the 4th, so a couple weeks from now. It's going to be a special closed-door event at the Savannah Air National Guard base, so no tickets available, but invitation only. It's going to be on an active air base, which, I know you always like to see the presentation ends up looking super cool and getting back to it. So looking forward to that one. I'll be out there for that. The main event is one of your favorites, old Chuck Buffalo himself. Charles Radke is in there against your boy, Eric Anders. That'll be the nice main event. I love the fact Neil Magny's going to be on there. Obviously, he's
that's cool.
Former Army vet himself, so he's going to be on there. He was a sergeant. He'll be on there against Miguel Baeza. And then Jimmy the Brick Flick will be on there against Marcelo Cohen. And Jose Perez, the featherweight champ for CFFC, who I thought for sure was going to be on The Ultimate Fighter, didn't get that call. He is a great submission artist, but he's going to be going against a BJJ standout and former Division I college wrestler, Max Livingston. So those are the matches that have been announced so far. So I'm looking damn forward to that night.
What about Friday?
This Friday? Tuff-N-Uff this Friday. Well, absolutely. I'll be there for that one.
So will I.
Are you going to be there?
Yeah. Oh, boy hit me up, and he's like, Ken, I'd love you to come. We're doing a show this weekend. I'd love to put you on if you want to come watch. And I was like, I'll come. So I'll be there.
Let's go.
And he was like, John's calling it. I was like, even better.
100%.
So I'll be there. I'll be there to watch the Tuff-N-Uff.
I love it. Tuff-N-Uff at the Sahara Theater. So if you're in town this Friday, watch your Bellator during the day, and then come watch the fights at night. That's what I'll be doing. So definitely, I love it. It's a long day,
but yeah, I don't have to cover those. I can just sit and have some drinks.
There you go, man.
And then I can actually, in that sense,
hey,
it's late enough to late enough start.
Cocktail afterwards. Yeah, okay, a little road show Friday night
or pregame.
No. That's a little different. There's a couple of commentary gigs that we have together that I'm willing to pregame a little bit. This is This is a little bit different. This is a little bit
No,
different.
but I am looking forward to it. I like the Tuff-N-Uff shows. It's been a while since I've been to.
Oh, they do a
been to
great
one of
job.
those. And they're good, such a good organization.
Dude,
just
wait
good
till you see the
people.
Sahara Theater. Like, have you
Yeah,
been to one there?
I don't think I have.
Bro, it is a cool little VIP theater. You know what I mean?
But it's a legit theater.
Oh.
Because I've seen Tuff-N-Uff where they're in a conference room.
No, this is a theater, like,
That's
and it's
cool.
it's a badass theater. It's a historic theater, like Frank Sinatra's performed there and stuff. But it's been modernized and updated, so it's got like the stage there. The fights are actually there's seats on the stage. The fights are actually on the floor, so it actually moves it forward.
I hope
Oh, bro, dude, there's not a bad seat in there, man. There's not a bad seat.
It's a small enough place, but yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to actually kind of see that.
So we got that coming up. So if you want to watch that on Fight Pass, you can also watch Fury Professional Grappling 9 on Fight Pass in 2 weeks. And then we've actually got a big card after that, CFFC 131, the same week as UFC 300. So a lot of good stuff. The CFFC schedule is about to get nuts. But anyway, want to make sure to drop that news. And last thing, just had to give a shout out, man. Mark Coleman.
Oh yeah.
How amazing is the news, and just what a savage
dude,
stud
that carnivore
is that.
diet, Hammer House for Life, whatever Tenets, all that shit that he loves to say.
Yeah, man.
But I mean, like, if there was anything, I mean, granted, I'm sure some will say, it's due to faith and whatever stuff. I will tell you, for an older person that is taking care of himself and he's working out and the other shit, I benefit. Some might say no, it was God. Whatever. I'm trying to tell you, if he wasn't so crazy working out or whatever, he would have never healed 100%. So well. Like, I mean, like if there's ever an example you want to tell, somebody said like, what benefits can an older person do by making sure that they're still working out and doing other stuff? How about this guy that just ran into a fire, carried out his family, succumbed to smoke inhalation,
was thought dead,
and literally less than a week later, he's leaving the hospital.
Amazing.
Dude.
Amazing.
Dude, he is an absolute machine. If anybody doubted,
you just got a little extra energy for your sets tonight, didn't you?
I'm going hard, dog. I'm going hard, dog. And I don't mean to discredit. I'm sure Faith has some things in there too. I know he's a religious dude or whatever, but I'm telling you, man, he literally made me just feel better about being an older person, going in there and working out or whatever. So. Dude, he's a fucking machine.
He's a legend, bro. He's an
less than
legend.
A week, and the dude was like, he's like, oh yeah, no, I'm good. They pulled the breathing tube like on day 2 or something. I'm like, dude, he is a beast, man. I'm so happy for his family, dude. I was so happy. His GoFundMe like shot through the roof, which was amazing. It started at like 50,000.
Right.
They bumped it up to 100,000. It surpassed that, and they capped it, I think, after it hit like 121,000 or something. Amazing. Dude, I mean, like, people loved that dude. People would have been, I think everybody had memories of like what that period of the UFC and MMA, watching that stuff, what he represented back when it was just like grimy and dirty, and like you never knew if it was going to be able to keep going. It was just like so raw, and just seeing him be such a big part of that, and seeing all the people come out and just be in support of this dude. So happy.
Agreed.
Yeah, man, that initial news hit hard, and then to have it complete turnaround, it was almost like, why were we worried? Which is silly to think. You knew he was going to be fine, but dude, I'm so happy for him and happy for his family. And I wish I could remember all the shit that he always says now. He's like, carnivore diet, clean tenets of clean living or something. He's got that phrase. I'm almost be like, Mark, just swap up the phrase a little bit, add it out. Now it's just like a blur. He just kind of says it, but I'll take it because I'm glad to see him. I'm glad to see him around. I'm glad I'm doing this thing. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to be looking at that carnivore diet because something worked out right for this dude. Man.
It did, man. It did. And what a hero, bro. Like, rescued his parents from a burning building. Like,
and the dude was like where there were no burns, or like, I'm like, where are the burns? I'm like, he's that much of a machine. He's like, flame don't hurt me, dog.
He's a man.
So I'm glad he got that little dog. That was the part that tore me up about losing his dog, because I knew he loved that dog, man.
Yeah.
And how can you not be moved hearing about the dog and stuff? And I was like, oh.
Yeah, it doesn't replace that, right? Like, that sucks, but still. Gotta move forward.
But dude, I'm so happy he's back.
I had to give that shout out because that was pretty damn cool.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that kind of fitting or whatever, because I know at one point Dobson, I think, trained with him. So we did bring up the question and he thought about it, but he's not with him anymore.
Right.
Not like there was any sort of separation,
I just moved on.
different gym or whatever. But yeah, at one point, so it could have been a lot worse of a fight week for somebody if you had a former coach or somebody dealing. But he's like, no, I'm good. I'll be out in time for your fight. Don't worry about it.
Good to go. Hey, last shout out to the NCAA wrestling championships of this week. They're all on ESPN Plus, or the big finals are on Saturday night ESPN.
Where's that at?
It's in Kansas City.
Oh, okay.
T-Mobile.
I thought you were going to say it was here. I was like,
no, it's in Kansas City. I think they call it. It's not T-Mobile Arena. I think it's T-Mobile Center there. It's definitely T-Mobile. But I think it's T-Mobile Center in Kansas City. But I just want to give a shout out in case anybody wasn't aware. It's ESPN Plus or ESPN. Obviously, this year I got more involved with college wrestling than I ever did my entire life.
Yeah, you did.
And I got my brackets printed out at home, dude.
Oh, good Lord!
I've got highlighted everybody that won the outstanding wrestler belts on our shows, because I'm cheering for them. I don't care.
Yeah.
I can cheer for them. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to that. So anyway,
very, very cool.
All right, listen. Yeah. Busy week, a lot of MMA coming up. Make sure you tune in for it. Friday, if you want to, watch Bellator in the morning, Tuff-N-Uff at night. We certainly would appreciate that. And then, of course, Cole Coffee and I will both be at UFC on ESPN 53. I'll do the and a half episode afterwards, and hopefully I got my car back by then. I'm not holding out. Probably not. It's probably going to be Monday. It's probably going to be Monday.
Yeah.
But we're hoping. We're hoping anyway. In the meantime, thanks for the support, everybody. I really do appreciate everybody that supports us over at patreon.com/MMA Roadshow. It means the world to us. If you could just rate us, leave us feedback, all that good stuff, it means the world as well. But more than anything, thanks for listening.